Hey guys, remember to like, comment, and subscribe to get a great discussion on gaming and all that surrounded. Now, on to today's topic. Hey guys, I've been seeing a lot of debate on the internet as to what the pricing of the PlayStation 5 will be. And that struck my interest because, I remember I was around when the PlayStation 4 was, the discussion around what the pricing of that console was going to be. And, people were going crazy as to, like, the PlayStation 3 was like $600. Was this going to be the same thing? And, I was paying attention to that whole spiel back then, and it's interesting now. Years later, we're here again with the PlayStation 5, and we're discussing what it's gonna what's gonna be inside. Kind of what's gonna be inside, but really what's the pricing and when it's gonna come out and whatnot. So I'm just gonna lay down what I think is gonna be, what the pricing is gonna be, and when it's gonna come out. But most importantly, why it's gonna cost how much I think it is. And I think it's going to cost $500 or $499.99, mainly because of these 5 reasons. So let me start the list. The first reason why I think it's going to cost $500 is because the Xbox One X did really well when it released. And I say really well. And it's not like, the Xbox One X saved the whole Xbox One brand. No, it didn't do that, but it did really well. I think a lot of customers were happy with what they got when the Xbox One X came out. It actually looked really good. Like, it looked like a next gen system, and $499 is a lot. At the price at the time, it looked like a lot of cash. Like, it looked like a lot, but it offered what it was worth. And I think Microsoft pulled that off really well, and it did really well for them. And I think it helped a lot. And so, guys, if you've ever watched, like the comparison between the vanilla Xbox One X and the vanilla Xbox One, and then the Xbox One X, you see stark differences, like with Red Dead Redemption. Like, it's totally night and day. And the One X is consistently, like, now it's the number one console to get. Like, that's if you want power, like, that's the one to get. And so I think the consumer is aware of how, like, the worth of it. Unlike in years ago when the Xbox One was first showed off, and it like totally was not worth $500, but they fixed a lot of stuff, so now it totally is. So I think that's a reason why they looked at that price point and said to themselves, this can work. And that's one of the big ones. The second reason why I think it's going to be $500 is that they just released the PlayStation 4 Pro, and they need something that looks much more impressive. Now, I think personally, because the PlayStation 4 Pro is not a bad system at all. Like, it's obviously an improvement over the PlayStation 4, but it could use a lot of improvements. Like, it can't do 4K, like native 4K, like the One X can. It has that weird anti-aliasing thing, that checkerboard anti-aliasing thing. Like, it's not really a true 4K machine, and the PlayStation 5 promises to be not only a 4K machine but an 8K machine. And that's I think that Sony understood that was a little bit of a mistake, not to make the system more powerful. And I don't think they want to make that mistake again. So the PlayStation 5, I think, to them is the actual next step up in graphics. So that's why they're doing this. I think that's why they're going to push for the $500. And they saw that problem with the PlayStation 4 Pro. So I think that that was a learning experience, if anything. The third reason here is going to be they're using the latest hardware. And if you got that what's it called, the article that Mark Cerny had. Like, he detailed what they're going to have in the system, and they're going to have the latest GPU. They're going to be using the Navi GPU from AMD. They're going to be using a Ryzen CPU. They're going to be using an SSD. They're going to be putting in 3D audio. They're going to have 4K or 8K support. I mean, it's a lot of stuff going on in the system. It's a lot of new tech, you know, in the system. It's a lot of very current technology. A lot of the stuff here hasn't been released yet, and that's the important part. Like, this stuff, by the time the PlayStation 5 comes out, yeah, it would have been out, but probably for only, like, at most a year. Like, this is really new. So not only does this tell me that PlayStation and AMD have been working, like, very closely together. And there has been an article where I think her name is Lisa Wu. She's the president of AMD. She stated that she has this secret sauce in the PlayStation 5, or like they've been working together. Like, they've been working together for a while for this PlayStation 5 project. Like, they've been working like a lot closer than I thought they have. So obviously they've been doing a lot of work on this system together. So, because I don't think I remember, I didn't pay too much attention to the PlayStation 3 when it came out and whatnot, but this is just brand spanking new. Like, this is brand spanking new technology, and I haven't seen this in a while. So I think this is pretty impressive. This is going to add to the cost. You know, obviously Intel is much more expensive than Ryzen, but I think that, this is still considered new technology. This is an 8-core CPU. Third generation. I don't know if this is hyper-threaded or not, but I'm hoping it is. But if it's an 8-core, 16-thread CPU, this is a pretty good CPU. The GPU, I think, is going to be pretty good. I mean, it has ray tracing in it. That's a new technology in it too. That's going to up the price depending on how much they plan to implement into the GPU. This might be a minor amount of ray tracing or whatever. However that is. So, these, regardless on how these things actually come to fruition, these are new pieces of technology they're putting inside this system, and that's going to up the price, and further adds weight to my theory that they want to go all out with this system. The fourth reason is going to be the PlayStation 4 started off kind of weak, and they don't want that same situation happening again this time around. So if you guys remember when the PlayStation 4 came out, it was obviously doing better than the Xbox One, because games ran at 1080p sometimes on the PS4, but on the Xbox One it was 720p a lot of time and 900p. But it was still never 1080p all the time with the PlayStation 4, and that's what they promised. So I think that this time they really want to hold that promise this time for 4K. Now, he did say 8K support. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's for video only, but I think that for 4K, I think that's definitely a possibility. They're going to push that. So I think that's one of the reasons why, and the reason why we have a PlayStation 4 Pro is because the console started off pretty weak. It's also another reason why we have the CPUs are so strong this time around. I mean, any of the Ryzen CPUs are pretty good, but they're picking the latest Ryzen chips coming out. That's a statement, so they don't want to make that mistake again, and they're not, and obviously they're not. So I think that adds a lot. That adds weight to this theory too. And for the final reason, they want to do well, and they want to stay on top in the gaming industry. Just because the PlayStation division is the only thing that kept them going afloat at one time. If you guys remember, like a year after the PlayStation 4 came out, if you guys remember this, PlayStation, like Sony, the company Sony, not PlayStation, the company Sony was doing terribly. Like, it was not doing well at all. There was massive layoffs. They were selling off divisions. I don't know if they have their phone division anymore, but their phone division was doing pretty bad. The only division I know that does okay is their TV division. But the one that was doing really well is their PlayStation division. It does, and did so well that was actually kind of keeping them afloat. Now that's unfortunate for the PlayStation division because that's just one small division compared to this whole worldwide company's investments. But it's a thing, like PlayStation might have saved Sony from going under or being bought out by another company. It's that was actually a reality. It could have been a reality. So I think Sony realizes that PlayStation is a really good division for them. Like, it's worth it. Like, it's worth to keep around. It's worth to invest heavy in it. And if you invest heavy, you get heavy returns. So I think this is a good idea. I think it's a good idea to pour a lot into this and then hopefully get a lot out of it. I think they should have a lot of, put a lot of good ideas into the system and not get too greedy, and keep the goodwill amongst your fan base and the customers, and get that backwards compatibility going, just to keep everyone happy. Because the PlayStation division's just doing really well for them, and if I was them, I would want to keep that going, not to take chances on that and just try and build an empire in other divisions. Because this thing messes up, they're done. But I think they're smart enough to realize that. I hope they don't get too cocky and mess it up. But I think this is why. I think all these reasons. That's why they want a $499 console next time, and next year. I think this is coming out 2020, whenever that is. Whenever, it could be March, it could be November. You can release a console at any time, and the people will buy it. The system has done so well that it doesn't matter when you release the PlayStation 5. I think there's going to be enough hype behind it. Oh geez, what else? I think that's pretty much it for what I want to say with the PlayStation 5. But I think those are all, I believe, sound reasons for the pricing. I know Mark Cerny said it was going to be a price that's going to be appealing to gamers. Well, the One X, 400 would be appealing, right? But the One X released at $499, and it did really well, and that's a system that does well, that performs well, is appealing to gamers, right? So if you factor that into like the price and everything, that would make the consumer happy. So I think that's just fancy wordplay he's just doing. That's nothing important. But this is just my opinion. Thank you guys for listening. I'll see you guys next time, and have a great day. Bye.